Hello all, welcome to our class and I'm Shilpa Nagaraju who will be dealing about Indian art and culture which is prescribed in your syllabus for UPSC, APFC, EO and AO examination. So continuing with our lecture on art and culture, we will today see the Indo Islamic architecture. So, before starting the class, let me tell you a few things about me. I have 6 years teaching experience, both online and offline. I've completed my MPA and pursuing my PhD. I've given the UPSC CSE interview and qualified for UGC NET. 6 years experience in government sector. Today, we'll see about the Indo Islamic architecture. You can just see here in Taj Mahal, you can see the lotus decoration, the finial, the ornamental terminating part, the onion dome, the cylindrical base of the onion dome called the drum, and the space between an arc and a rectangular enclosure called spandrel, and calligraphy on the large fish tank, and etc. So we'll go in detail with it, but let's understand the history behind the Indo Islamic architecture here first. How did this Islamic influence came to Indian architecture? The Islam spread to Spain and India in the 7th and 8th centuries, Common Era. Islam came to India particularly with the Muslim merchants, traders, holy men, and conquerors over a passage of 600 years. In the early 13th century, large scale building activity began under the Delhi Sultanate, established after the Turkish conquest of northern India. A noteworthy aspect of these migrations and conquests was that Muslims absorbed many features of the local cultures and the traditions and combined them with their own architectural practices, which results in the modification of the architectural elements. So those architectural entities or categories showcasing the multiple styles are known as Indo-Sasanic or Indo-Islamic architecture. The Hindus conceived manifestations of God everywhere in multiple forms as part of their religious faith, whereas Muslims thought of only one with Prophet Muhammad as their prophet. Hence, Hindus adorned all surfaces with sculptures and paintings. Muslims forbidden to replicate living forms on any surface, developed the religious art and architecture consisting of the arts of arabesque, geometrical patterns, and calligraphy on plaster and stone. So let's see the different characteristics of Indo-Islamic architecture, and on first we'll see the typologies of the structure. Keeping in mind the religious and secular necessities, architectural buildings like mosques for daily prayers, the Jama masjids, tombs, dargahs, minars, hammams, formally laid out gardens, madrasas, sarais or caravanserais, KOS, minars, etc., were constructed over a period of time. In spite of the Sasanic, Persian, and Turkish influences, Indo Islamic structures were heavily influenced by prevailing sensibilities of Indian architectural and decorative forms. The categories of styles. The study of Indo Islamic architecture is conventionally categorized into the imperial style Delhi Sultanate, the provincial style of Mandu, Gujarat, Bengal, and Jaunpur, the Mughal style of Delhi, Agra, and Lahore, the Deccanese style of Bijapur and Golconda. Let's see the decorative forms. These forms included designing on plaster through incision. The designs were either left plain or covered with colors. Motifs were also painted on or carved in stone. These motifs included varieties of flowers both from the subcontinent and places outside, particularly Iran. Many designs of flower motifs decorating the ceilings were also to be found on textiles and carpets. The lotus bud fringe was used to great advantage in the inner curves of the arches. The arches were plain and squat and sometimes high and pointed. Walls were also decorated with cypress, chinar, and other trees as well as with flower vases. In the 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries, tiles were also used to surface the walls and the domes. The decorations included high three-dimensional look and low relief carving and profuse use of jalis. The techniques of tessellation, mosaic designs, and pitradura were made use of for surface decoration, particularly in the dado panels of the walls. The roof was a mix of the central dome and other smaller domes, chhatris, and tiny minarets. You can see here the dado panels and the Pitradura art. Here in the dado panels, they don't use the precious stones. But here in Pitradura, if you see in darkness, complete darkness, you can see the illumination of these semi precious stones which were incorporated in the designs. Now let's see the components of Indo Islamic architecture. First one being minars. One of the forms of stamba or tower was the minar. So in Indian style we call this the stamba, but in the Indo Islamic architecture we call them the stamba. That is the minars. This is a common feature in the subcontinent. Two most striking features or minars of the medieval times are the Qutub Minar in Delhi and Chand Minar at Daulatabad fort. So the image you are seeing on the right is the Chand Minar at the Daulatabad fort. The everyday use of the minar was for the azan or call to prayer. Its phenomenal height, however, symbolized the might and power of the ruler. So, if you recall, I had told you in the Indian architecture, the Dravidian architecture in particular, I told you the the height of the tower of the temples showed the might and power of the ruler. So, if there was any fight or occupancy of other ruler on the particular region, they used to first target the temples because they were the source of might and power of the ruler, and also a lot of money was there inside the temples. Second one being tombs, monumental structures over the graves of rulers and royalty were a popular feature of medieval India. Some well-known examples of such tombs are those of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, Humayun, Abdur Rahim Khan-e-Khanan in Delhi, Akbar and Ithamuddullah in Agra. Beginning with the introduction of Quranic verses on the walls, the tomb was subsequently placed within paradisical elements such as a garden or near a body of water or both. As in the case of the Humayun's tomb and the Taj Mahal, which follows the Charbagh style, please understand the Charbagh style is a four quadrant garden with the four rivers of Quranic paradise represented. Such vast expanses of structured and stylized spaces signify the majesty, grandeur, and might of the person buried there. This is an example of tombs that here you can see the Humayun's tomb. Next one being sarais. Sarais were largely built on simple square or rectangular plan and were meant to provide temporary accommodation to Indian and foreign travelers, pilgrims, merchants, traders, etc. In effect, sarais were public domains that were populated by people of varied cultural backgrounds. This led to cross cultural interaction, influences, and syncretic tendencies in the local culture and at the individual level. You can see here the difference between the sarais, homes, and also the minars. The minars are like the stamba or the towers, and the tombs are Structures or the monumental structures or the graves of the rulers and royalty. See here how spaciously they have constructed this tomb, that Humayun's tomb. And see here the sarais. They were actually temporary accommodation to Indian and foreign travelers. So please understand why these there are different types of this architecture in the architecture here. What are the purposes they were used to? Okay, so now we also have the structures for common people. One of the architectural features of medieval India was also a coming together of styles, techniques, and decorations in public and private spaces of non royal sections of the society. This included buildings for domestic usage, temples, mosques, kankas. Kankas are the hermitage of Sufi saints, and dargahs, commemorative gateways, pavilions and buildings and gardens, bazaars, etc. So this is some of the structures for common people like the dargahs, the mosques, the temples, kankas, etc. So the city of Mandu. Why I have taken this city of Mandu? Because it's an example of Indo Islamic architecture. So as you can see in the image, you can see it is having some of the features I told you in the Indo Islamic architecture. So the city of Mandu is located in Madhya Pradesh. Mandu's natural defense encouraged consistent habitations by Parmara Rajputs, Afghans, and Mughals. As the capital city of Gauri dynasty between 1401 to 1561, was founded by Hoshang Shah, and it acquired a lot of fame. Mandu is a typical representation of the medieval provincial style of art and architecture. The provincial style architecture of Mandu is regarded as too close to the structures of imperial Delhi to make a bold statement of local traditions. A significant aspect of the Indo Islamic architectural experience was the lightness of the structures. It was a complex mix of official and residential come pleasure palaces, pavilions, mosques, artificial reservoirs, baolis, embattlements, etc. So you can see here there is a tank in between these arches, and it might be some palace or some religious place, and it looks very architectural, right? There you can find out the jalis, you can find out the arches in this city of Mandu. Next is Taj Mahal, a very famous one of the wonders of the world. It is located in Agra and is one of the finest specimen of Mughal architecture. Exhibits the most exquisite display of glory and richness. And if you, I told you here, if you remember the Pitradura decoration, right? Pitradura decoration can be exorbitantly seen in Taj Mahal. Okay, it was constructed in memory of Shah Jahan's wife Arjumand Banu Begum, or simply called Mumtaz Mahal. It had all the features of Mughal architecture, including the use of calligraphy, Pitradura works, foreshortening technique, charbagh style gardens, and the use of water in the premises for decoration. Some of the unique features are the jali work in Taj Mahal is lace like and is extremely fine. The carvings on the marble were low relief. So this is our Taj Mahal. You can see the char bagh in front of Taj Mahal and the minarets and the domes, etc. The next important one example of Indo-Islamic architecture is Gol Gumbaz. It is situated in Bijapur of Karnataka. It's a mausoleum or a group of tombs of Muhammad Ali Shah, who ruled between 1626 to 1656, and the seventh Sultan of Adil Shahi dynasty of Bijapur, which ruled between 1489 to 1686. It's a contemporary of Vijayanagara Empire. It was built by the ruler himself. It's a notable building despite being unfinished. The tomb is a complex of buildings such as a gateway, a nakhar khana. A nakhar khana is a drum house, a mosque and a sarai located within a large walled garden. The Gumbat is a monumental square building topped with a circular drum over which stands a majestic dome, giving the building its nomenclature. The building rises to a height of over 200 feet and is the second largest dome in the world. Along the drum of the dome, there is a whispering gallery where sounds get magnified and echoed many times over. So, this is a Deccani style of architecture where this is of the Adil Shahi dynasty of Bijapur, Karnataka. So, it is the second largest dome in the world. The next example is Jama Masjid. Large mosques spanning huge spaces were also scattered across the Indian subcontinent during the medieval times. Congregational prayers were held here every Friday afternoon. The prayer required the presence of a minimum of 40 Muslim male adults. In medieval times, a city had one Jama Masjid, which, along with its immediate surroundings, became the focus of the lives of the people, both Muslim and non Muslim. Such a mosque was large with an open courtyard surrounded on three sides by cloisters and Qibla Livan. It was here that the mihrab and the mimbar, which is a short flight of steps used as a platform by a preacher in a mosque for the imam. The imam is a person who leads prayers in a mosque, were located. So this is the Jama Masjid. The next example is Qutub Minar in Delhi. It was built in the 13th century, a 234 feet high tapering tower divided into five stories. The minar is a mix of polygonal and circular shapes. It is largely built of red and buff stone, characterized by highly decorated balconies and bands of inscriptions intertwined with foliated designs. Next is Chand Minar. It was built in 14th century and is a tower divided into four stories. Now painted peach, its facade once featured chevron pattern, encaustic tile work, and bands of Quranic verse. Although it looked like an Iranian monument, it was the combined handiwork of local architects with those from Delhi and Iran. Next one is Humayun's tomb, which already you saw. The tomb was built in 1570 is of particular cultural significance as it was the first garden tomb on the Indian subcontinent. It was built under the patronage of Humayun's son, the great Emperor Akbar. It is also called the dormitory of the Mughals as in the cells are buried over 150 Mughal family members. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO recognized it as a World Heritage Site in 1993. So this is the Humayun Tomb. Next example is Red Fort, which was built by Shah Jahan in 1618 when he decided to move the capital from Agra to Delhi. It was the residence of Mughal rulers. It is also designated as a World Heritage Site in 2007 by the UNESCO. The next one example is Badshahi Mosque, built during the reign of Aurangzeb. At the time of completion is 1673 and was the largest mosque in the world at that time. It is located in Lahore, the capital of Pakistani province of Punjab. Agra Fort, one of the first constructions which started during the reign of Akbar. During the reign of Akbar, more than 5,000 women stayed in his harem inside this fort. Next example is Fatehpur Sikri. One of the highlights of Indo Islamic architecture was the creation of a new capital by Akbar at Fatehpur Sikri. It has been described as a frozen moment in history as the buildings here represent a unique blend of Hindu and Persian styles. Some of the important buildings inside the city are as follows: Buland Darwaza, Salim Shishti's tomb, Panch Mahal, Jodhabai's palace, or Maryam uz Zamani's palace. So this is Fatehpur Sikri. If you have seen Jodha Akbar movie, you can have come across some of the important buildings which I discussed here in the movie. So these are some of the examples of Indo Islamic architecture: Fatehpur Sikri, Agra Fort, Badshahi Mosque, Red Fort, Humayun's Tomb, Chand Minar, Qutub Minar, Jama Masjid, Gol Gumbaz, Taj Mahal, and the city of Mandu. The structures we discussed are the dargahs, the kankas, mosques, sarais, tombs, minars, and dado panels, pitpadura, and we saw the categories of styles, the typologies of structure, and also the history of the Indo Islamic architecture. So thank you so much. And in the next class, we will study about the modern architecture for your syllabus of Indian art and culture. Thank you, and please like and subscribe our channel to encourage us, and leave your comments on the comment section, and also share our videos with your fellow aspirants. Thank you so much, and have a great day.